Welcome to the video blog, and I'm here at the ExL Pharma Public Relations and Communications Conference with Julie Zawisza. Julie Zawisza is Director of Communications now for the FDA Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. Welcome to the video blog.
Thank you, Doug.
Great. Now, you covered two different areas in your presentation that I'd like to get into. First is what the FDA is doing to enhance its own communication and reputation and add to transparency, which you've been a driving force for.
Well, we've been doing quite a few things recently, and even in the last few years, communications has become a very high priority for the agency, and in part to meet societal expectations for more information and earlier information about product safety and product benefit efficacy, but also because we know that we need to explain what we do and the rationale behind our decisions and our actions so that people do understand how the job that we do protects the public health and advances the public health. So part of what we're doing under the Transparency Initiative is being very open about the things that we can talk about and taking a position about information that we present so that people aren't left guessing about what does the agency think about the latest science, or what does the agency think about the risk that they've just presented to us about a drug or a medical product or even food. And we don't leave people guessing about, what does that mean for me? That we try to show people and connect the dots of what we know and how it could impact them.
Yeah, you mentioned you're trying to now take stronger stands on issues, stronger and clearer. Tell us about that.
Well, again, I think what the agency does well is generate information, and if nothing else, we are a scientific agency that generates scientific data and information, and it's not hard to put that information out, but what is more difficult and challenging is to provide context to it and provide meaning to it, not meaning for us, but meaning for the public. What does this mean, me, the mother of a sick child? What does this mean, me, a senior citizen who is taking 5 or 6, 7, 8 different drugs at a time? What does this mean for me? I'm on a drug that now I can't take because there's a new safety issue that might impact me. So it's really taking the information downstream to the end user and putting it together in a way that makes sense to people, so it demystifies it, and so it's clear that people understand, is this something that has benefit for me, or does it have risk? Now, everything has risk, so how much risk, and what is that balance?
Yeah, and you also have to address health literacy, which you're studying, because you can put out perfect information and get it disseminated, but will the public understand it, and will the key publics understand it?
That's absolutely true, and we are looking at that in a very deliberate way with our Risk Communications Advisory Committee, and we have an Internal Communications Council, we have a health literacy group, and we're looking at what are the best practices for how we talk to people, what are the terms of our regulatory jargon that we should stay away from, and do we need to say misbranded and adulterated, and do people understand the term product labeling? The labeling is much more than just a label on a box or on a vial. And so yes, we're looking at all of that, and we're thinking about value-laden terms as well, and long technical information, long technical explanations that may in the end not really get us to our goal, which is understanding, transparency, and meaningful information that people can make a decision on for their health.
Now, the industry has some questions, obviously major transition with health reform, looking for guidance from the FDA on what they can and can't do. That's a constant issue, and obviously it's interesting with social media becoming prominent. Do you think this year, if you could look in your crystal ball, the FDA will actually issue some guidance on how pharmas can use social media, and would that be a good idea?
Well, we did recently issue a guidance document which applies to promotional material wherever it is, whether it's broadcast, printed matter, internet, social media, everything. It's very broad, comprehensive. But we do understand that because of the way that the internet moves information and because of all the tools now available to all of us, that we have to do more in terms of providing guidance to the pharmaceutical industry and the medical products industry at large, not just pharmaceutical companies, of what we think is acceptable and where the lines are. So we definitely understand that. We appreciate that. We're working on that as we speak, and would like feedback from the industry on what is it that you need clarity on.
Great. And one final question, which is an interesting piece that just came up and was covered, is safe use, where you might have a product that by definition is safe if used properly, and we just saw that acetaminophen was probably a drug issue that was partially in that space. How are you looking to step up enforcement of the safe use?
I would characterize it somewhat differently, not enforcement as much as the FDA using its best powers of persuasion and influence and encouragement that drugs and educational tools to explain to people the dangers of misusing a drug or polypharmacy, meaning using several drugs at one time, say in the case of acetaminophen with prescription over-the-counter acetaminophen drugs. And the Safe Use Initiative, which we will launch, we hope, this year, has a tremendous potential to harness the energy and the dedication of the entire enterprise, meaning the FDA, the industry, distributors, healthcare professionals, patients, and anyone else involved from bench to bedside of preparing, delivering, and using pharmaceutical products, to be part of this initiative to make sure that when they leave the company or they leave the distributor, that they are prescribed properly, that they're dispensed properly, they're used properly. There's tremendous potential there for us to minimize the risk to patients and to consumers if people understand that most of the risks from drugs happen after the drugs are approved for marketing. That these are not the inherent risks we're talking about. We're talking about the risk of how they're used and moved through commerce.
Interesting.
We're very excited about that.
Great. That sounds very exciting. I'm sure something that will be very well received. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.